on mute. And as always, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat function, and then we'll pick them up with Stephen at the end. But absolutely delighted to have Stephen Mcphail with us tonight, and thank you ever so much for your time, Macca, and appreciate Jason for organising this. Fantastic footballer, one of the best left foots around. Watched you many times, and really looking forward to this. When we've been putting this out, everybody's really excited to listen to your story and a little bit about what you're doing now. So, if it's all right with you, Macca, if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing a little bit about your career and your upbringing, and just we'll kind of take it from there and jump in with questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim. No, it's obviously a long time now since I've started back here in Dublin, where I am now. So it was I was just playing for like a schoolboy team over here called Home Farm, which is probably like a boys' club over in England. Since the age of 10, really, I went into Home Farm. Obviously got good pedigree that schoolboy club in terms of getting people across to England. So I was just literally in there playing. Our training schedule back then would have been too hectic or not much coaching. We would have just trained for an hour on a Tuesday and an hour on a Thursday on a bit of concrete, and played street football, really, just games against each other. We never had any coaching whatsoever till I went to England. So really basic stuff. But played on a Saturday in the top division at schoolboy 11 in Dublin, and at 14, I probably started kicking off for me, Jim, when a few scouts would get in contact with me, mum and dad, and just ask would I be available to go over and visit a club in England. First club I went to was Everton for a couple of days, and a week later Leeds rang and asked would I come over there and spend the week there. So that was through Paul Hart, which Jace would know well, as would have been the U team coach back then, and what a man. He sort of made me feel really, really comfortable when I got over to Leeds, and I spent a week training, and yeah, I loved it. I just felt really, really comfortable within the place. And
did you come over on your own, or were your family come with you?
Yeah.
Or?
No, I came over on my own the first time on trial, so I would have came just for a week from, say, Saturday to Saturday in the Easter holidays, and from school, and it would have been just get muck in, as Paul would have done, threw me in with the under 18s. I was only 14 at the time, but I loved it. I loved the week. There was a bit few Irish players, obviously Gary Kelly, who would have been breaking into the first team at that stage, who I really looked up to, because he wouldn't live too far away from me. Growing up here in Dublin, so I knew Gary, but only from playing with the first team. So yeah, I just felt really comfortable. Just offered me to go back then again in the Christmas holidays, and went back again for another week, and just from there it sort of led to them offering me a contract to go over when I was 15. So yeah, jumped at it. I loved it. I just on my 15th birthday, packed up and left home and went over to live in Wetherby, just outside the training ground with Jace. Actually, Jace would have been in that digs where I was. So it was it was really, really interesting. Came around really quick for me. So from playing schoolboy football in Dublin at 14 to living in the middle of Leeds on my own, away from the family and friends at 15. So went from there, really. So it was it was a really crazy time, hard time in terms of leaving the family, but it's always something I wanted to do, and didn't want to give that up, really.
How was that, leaving home at such a young age?
Yeah, I suppose when you look back, it's obviously quite daunting. I still have the feeling of waking up in the morning when the alarm went and I had to be in the airport at 5:30 to get a red-eye flight to Leeds and literally start training that morning. So it was I left with a few other boys were signed at the same time, 3 or 4 other Irish lads. So that did help, that I had people that they were a year older than me. I didn't know them too well, but I got to know them, obviously, living them and stuff. So that sort of helped, but I still have that daunting feeling of this is it, I'm gone. And madly enough, 20 years later, it was the last time I came back. I lived over in England for 20 years. I was one of the lucky ones to have an okay career. So it was, yeah, daunting when you look back, but something that I was looking forward to. I just wanted to crack on and get training and try and settle in as much as possible.
Any of the other boys that were in that group, did they go on and make a career too?
Yeah, in that group when I landed, I was a younger one that they were more 16-year-olds. Alan Mabry would have been one, and he would have played. Damien Lynch was another one. Nicky Byrne, who didn't make it as football, but done better than anyone in Westlife. So he was another one that left on the same day. And then I went into the group of an unbelievable U team with the likes of Harry Hill and Paul Robinson, Alan Smith, Jonathan Woodgate. They were all in my year, so it was an amazing group to go into straight away and find our feet there, really.
So how was your time at Leeds then? Can you tell us a little bit about that? You went in at 15 and you played obviously with the youth team. When did you make your debut and what was that like?
Yeah, I straight away went into the U team and that's all I concentrated on. I think it's a difficult one when you get into such a big club for a young player. I think it's a few of the boys obviously been through it. That's on the call tonight. I think it's more about just trying to find your feet and trying to get playing as much as possible in that youth team. That was always my goal for that first year. Just trying to make myself as best I could in that first year. I wasn't physically ready when I landed. I remember going straight into the pre-season and my body was definitely not ready for it. I was not ready for full-time training. I remember doing hill runs and being sick for days. It's just been just one of them couple of weeks where they throw you in the deep end, and I think it's probably the best thing that happened for me. I had to find my feet. But yeah, it just progressed from there, and I felt like I was getting stronger. My body was getting stronger. It took me probably 6 months to break into that U team and nail down a spot, and then from there, the next season set me sights and getting into the reserve team. So I just took small steps every 6 months of trying to focus on myself and trying to make sure I gave myself the best chance to get in the first team. But it was never in my mind that it would happen so quick. So I got from being in the youth team for the first year till I was 16, and then when 16 I got into playing a few reserve games and being dropped back to the youth team. So that first 2 years was very similar. And then at 18 I made my debut just on my 18th birthday. So for the first team, which was amazing, really. 3 years earlier I was playing in parks, local parks against my mates. So it was incredible, really. So I got to make my debut at Leicester. George Graham was the manager. He gave me my debut, and yeah, I loved it. I loved every bit of that youth team, because I think that's apart from looking back on my career, from going from a boy into a man, and I think that they were the 3 years of trying to get to that level and trying to get to that professionalism and trying to get my body in the best possible shape to compete with men. And it is difficult. You end up in a first team so young, but it's yeah, it was just happened so quick. And yeah, I loved
Some
every
old school defenders and midfielders about then as well, wasn't there?
yeah, it's a lot different than it is now, I suppose. Yeah, they're just good people, probably people that test you every day. I think you have obviously the young boys here on this call. I think to give them any advice would be to really home in on them things and being a good person and being honest. I think all the pros will always test you. They see a young lad coming into the first team dressing room. They think, oh, he might be one that takes my spot. So you're always being tested, and I think once you have confidence in your ability, but the most important thing is that you're honest and try your best every day trying to be. That was drilled into us from Eddie Gray and Paul Hart. Is every day you turn up, be the best you can be, and I think it stood to a lot of our lads in the U team at that stage.
When did you know you were going to? When did you know you were going to make your debut?
I didn't. I travelled a few times in the squad leading up to that, and was always 19th man and left out a couple of games before I made my debut. So that on that Leicester trip, away trip, travelled down. I didn't expect to be on the bench even, and then the manager puts up the squad, and you're on the bench, and you think, right, got a chance here. It's only a couple of hours before kick off, and you see that. So it's yeah, it's sort of, it's probably the best thing. I think if you had told me the day before, it probably would have overthought it a little bit. But yeah, no, I loved it. Just try to embrace it. I think it probably helped that a few of our younger U team players were already in the squad at that stage. Harry Kill would have been one from our U team who was the first in and became a superstar overnight within 6 months in the whole league. So he gave me that sort of confidence. I was rooming with Harry at the time, and he'd come back from first team games, and I'd be laying in bed, waiting up to see what it was like, and ask him all the questions that goes with traveling and being on the big stage. So that probably gave me the confidence that I was playing with him in the U team a year before. So you just try and take them little bits of confidence that if he can do it, I could do it. So yeah, I was looking forward to getting the call, and then told to warm up with about 20 minutes to go. Never thought that feeling of anxious, still have the butterflies in my stomach, all that stuff. You're warming up, and then you get a call to come back that you're going on for the last 10 minutes was an amazing feeling.
Brilliant. And so the rest of your career at Leeds, tell us a little bit more about that. Obviously playing under George Graham, one of the top managers in the game.
Yeah, he's amazing. I think what he done at Leeds was give it stability. You know, I think it was a club that was in the bottom half of the Premier League, probably not pushing forward, and I think he just gave it that stability at the time. And for the young lads, and for me especially, I just have my own thoughts. And George, he understood my weak part of the game, more on the defending part, and he drilled me every afternoon. He took me out with the coaches on his own and went through how I should defend in midfield, and I knew it was something I had to work on at that time, and that really stood to me. I think I took probably 6 months of being with him nearly every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, getting used to the drills of when to go and press and when to stay off, and working with my partner in midfield. And he was a brilliant for me. He really knuckled, and he was hard on me. He really hard. He tested me. Looking back now, sometimes I thought, he's giving me a bit here, but I could see he was obviously trying to test me mentally, see if I had it in me to fight and work hard. And yeah, that was super. And then we obviously went on to have Dave O'Leary would have took over from George. Not long after George left to go to Spurs, I think within 18 months of me being around the first team. So I moved on from there, and a lot more of the young boys in that U team started getting into the first team. So that all sort of changed quite quick.
What were your highlights during your time at Leeds?
Yeah, we had some amazing games. Obviously, we with Dave come in, we the first year he came in, and we got to the Europa League now, which would have been the UEFA Cup back then, semi-final. And got beat by Galatasaray, but we had some amazing games on the way there. My second or third game after the Leicester debut was against Roma, and so it was my
Alan
third
Smith.
game for Leeds. Away, yeah, played away in the Olympic Stadium. It was incredible. I knew that night before that was playing, so it made it a bit different than the Leicester one. But yeah, loads of good memories, huge games. And the year after, the second year after with Dave, we got to Champions League semi-final, which was an incredible run as well. Got to play against all the amazing teams, Barcelona away in the new camp, where we got slapped 4-0. That was probably an eye opener. That was our first game in the group. Probably the best thing that ever happened to us. We sort of made us realise the levels we were at, and it never happened again. We were lucky enough then when we got them back down the road, we got some good results against them and AC Milan, and got through. And yeah, it was incredible couple of years of playing some big European games, and then we were obviously up around the top end of the Premier League as well, which was great. Some amazing footballers as well was brought to the club as well in them couple of years.
Some unbelievable nights under the lights at Ellen Road, those Champions League nights. I can't imagine what it'd be like playing in that.
Yeah, unbelievable, special. Like, it's, as a young boy, I would have been obviously 19, 20 at that stage. It just went straight over my head. I never looked into it. I just was so fighting every time to try and get in the pitch and try and stay in the squad because that's how I felt. I needed to do every day. So I never overthought the games. I never overanalyzed who I was playing against too much, only from what the manager was telling me. So it's probably a good thing I was young. I think
Mhm.
if it had come a bit later in my career, it might have been a bit different in terms of looking at the magnitude of the game and not performing as I did. But yeah, it was special times. Ellen Road, I think if anyone's been there on a European night, it's incredible atmosphere. It's something that I look back now and yeah, it's one I look back with pride. Obviously, getting one of the lucky ones to get to enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that when did you make your full debut for the country?
I would have been 19, 20. So yeah, just after that, I got to play the first game at Scotland in Lansdowne Road. So that was another
Wow.
special one. Yeah, it was amazing. Scotland being a bit of a rival as well. So
Mhm.
it was yeah, it was packed house. Yeah, it's always something I dreamt of as a kid, playing for your country. Um, Mick McCarthy would have been the manager at that stage, and he was great. I would have been in a couple of squads, and that was my first one, where I thought, right, I've got a chance of playing, and he told me, make sure your family's coming, you're going to start, and yeah, it was incredible feeling walking out there and knowing your family and friends are in the crowd, and I've been there as a kid supporting Ireland, so it was a dream come true. Really, it was amazing.
Did you beat them?
No, they beat us 1-0. Don
How did they?
Hutchinson actually scored a goal near the end, which was sort of ruined my debut. But no, it was proud moment, really.
So who was in that the Republic of Ireland squad at that sort of time? Was
Yeah,
it
would have,
Roy Keanes and the
yeah,
like?
yeah, Roy Keanes and Niall Quinns and Steve Staunton's, all the legends that
Wow.
yeah, I would have watched growing up. So really special. I just missed out. Paul McGrath just retired that year, so he would have been one that I would have looked up to. But Roy Keane was a hero of mine, like any young Irish kid. So to get to be on the pitch with him, I played lucky enough to play a few games for Ireland with him in the middle of the park, and it was yeah,
Mm.
incredible. He sort of is a bit of an eye opener, Roy, in terms of he tells you what he thinks straight to your face, and I love that about him. I never had any problems with him, but he was great to play with, unbelievable footballer.
Mhm. Is he as he comes across? Is he the same as he is as a pundit? He's quite abrupt and straight talking. As you,
Yeah,
that's kind of the kind of what we see as when you're watching him.
yeah, he definitely would have been like that as a player and being in the dressing room like that. He was quiet. He was really quiet in terms of he wouldn't go around shouting or kicking bottles or any of that or pointing at people. He just when he spoke, everyone listened. He was just one of them characters. I had loads of time from good conversations when I was a kid, one on ones with him, just trying to pick his brain on how to be better and how to try and take some little bits of information off him as best I could. I played against him for Leeds
Hmm.
many a time, and he always made it hard for me. Always tried to bully me with his talk and everything. Which he was an older player, which
Yeah.
I understood. So it was I was just trying to get to the bottom of trying to one of the best players in the world at the time. So it was no, he's yeah, he is what you see in the telly now. I suppose
Yeah.
he says it as he sees it.
Who were your heroes then growing up? Who, when you were playing out in the street or in the park with your friends, who were you imagining to be?
Yeah, I love Zidane as a player. He was just incredible. I just used to watch constantly, trying to watch him when he was playing for Real. And Gaza was another one. Tottenham, when Dad supported Tottenham, so it was always on Tottenham, and I just loved the way he played. I loved the arrogance he showed on the pitch with the football, and they were probably two that I looked up to on the pitch. Definitely, obviously you look at Zidane throughout his career, he just so comfortable in the ball, but he worked so hard. Not many people could see that side of his game, but he was just a winner. And that's what I loved about him. I think it was just no nonsense. He was never one for anything flash. He just got on with his game, but he was a super footballer.
Did you ever get to play against him?
No, I didn't get to play against him. No, unfortunately, I played against Real Madrid in the in the Bernabeu, but he didn't play in that game. So it was, they had Figo and other players who would have been
Hmm.
right at the top end of that game, their profession then. So yeah, no, it was one I would have loved to play against.
So you reached the highs of football, Champions League, Premier League at a really young age. What happened next in your career after Leeds
Yeah,
United?
I think probably when I was 23 at Leeds, things started going a bit wobbly in terms of the background of the club. Was in a bit of turmoil. We just missed out on Champions League by on goal difference one year, and ended up being in the UEFA Cup, Europa League now, and the financial background just sort of changed overnight. Um, a lot of players left that season. The club went into administration, and I left. I actually got an Achilles, two Achilles operations that year, and I was struggling for my fitness. I didn't play for well over 12 months, so I was probably a bit in limbo. I hadn't played. Everyone was leaving. Everyone had a price in their head, and I ended up signing for Barnsley on loan in League One just to get back playing. And it was a real eye opener. You know, I've gone from playing in the Premier League to going into League One, where it's a total different way of football. But I just wanted to get back playing. Paul Hart went from Leeds to there as manager, and asked me would I go down there and sign a contract for a year, and I did. I loved it. I loved it. Proper got back to playing every week. Paul left after 6 months. He moved on to Forest, but Andy Gray came in as manager, and I just really enjoyed it. I just got back to basics. I knew I had to really knuckle down. I've lost my way a bit for the last 18 months, and I had to work and fight and scrap and find a way to affect games in a lower league, which was really difficult because a lot of time the ball was going over my head, and
Yeah.
I wasn't that type of footballer. So I needed to find a way to get on second balls. I needed to find a way to tackle and win the ball and make myself impose myself in the game. And I loved it. I had 18 months there, and my last game there, we ended up getting promoted in the playoff final against Swansea in the Millennium. So I loved
Brilliant.
it. I loved the. It just gave me more confidence, and that confidence knock I had from the injuries and being let go from Leeds sort of uh, came again. It came again. It took me time. It did take a good 12 months, but I suppose looking back from my whole career, it's so wavy. I don't think only the special ones, I think, have a straight line of success. I think
Yeah.
it's a time I look back and where I was proud of myself, where I dug in. I could have easily went the other way. So it was all them good times. I definitely remember them bad times as much as the good times, really. You know.
How do you, kind of from a mental strength point of view, how do you get over something like that? You've played at the top level, you've played in the Champions League, you've been there on those special nights, and then next you're playing in League One, doing doggies and having to get stuck in. And how, from a mental point of view, how do you cope with that?
Yeah, I struggled to be honest. Yeah, I was fighting the world. I was thinking it was everyone else's fault for a little bit, you know, in the summer when I was at home, and I thought after a couple of weeks, not just by speaking to people that are close to you and realizing there's only one person going to get yourself out of this, and that's you. So I I hired a fitness coach for the off season and just got myself as fit and as strong as possible as I could, and stopped pointing the fingers at other people and looked at myself really and stripped it right back. You know, I think that's important. I think for anything, I was still young at that stage, but when I look back, that's something that I learned quite quick, that it's all about how you prepare and how you can't start blaming people and pointing fingers at people. It's all about you. And yeah, that's what I did, Jim. I just got my head down. I worked hard. I came back as fit as I've ever been, and I just had to find a way to affect games because it was a different type of football, and that took me time to work out. But I did it. I did it within 3 months. I was made captain and felt right. I'm a part of this now. I'm gonna kick on. The confidence coming back. It was influencing the game and influenced the dressing room, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was a big eye opener. It was probably strange from people on the outside looking, why did I go there? But something that I felt I needed, at the time.
It says about a lot about you and your character and your resilience to come back from something like that. So did you you got a move then after Barnsley, or did you stay with Barnsley after the promotion?
No, my last game. To be honest, the last game in the Millennium, I already had agreed to go to Cardiff the week or two before that because I just thought I was living in Leeds since I was 15 and now I was 24, 25 at 10 years at Leeds, 8 years at Leeds and then a couple at Barnsley. So I just felt I needed to get away from Leeds in terms of where I lived and just try something different. So Dave Jones was the manager at Cardiff at the time, and he came and met me probably a month before the end of the season and just said, "Listen, we've watched you and we want to make you an offer to come to Cardiff." And I had a few other offers. Barnsley made me a really good offer, but I already had my mind made up that I was going to Cardiff just for the whole
Massive club.
yeah, trying something different and a huge club. They had great plans of moving stadium, and I just believed that Dave was sort of starting to try and build something there. So I just felt comfortable with what he sold to me, and yeah, I moved on straight after the cup final. I met with the chairman at Barnsley. It was a tough one because we had the celebrations back at Barnsley and done the bus tour and I remember fans singing, sign their contract and stuff, and I knew.
You already knew.
Yeah, it was horrendous actually. Yeah, and then when I signed for Cardiff, my first game back for Cardiff was back at Barnsley in the championship.
Oh,
so it went down like a lead balloon, really. So yeah,
yeah.
that's so I went to Cardiff, and that was another club that I love playing for. It just sort of kicked off from there for me, and straight into it. And I met, as you know, huge club, one city club, a bit like Leeds, very, 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 very focused. The whole focus of the city, massive city.
Very passionate, aren't they, the
Yeah,
fans
very,
as
very
well?
passionate fans, and really reminds me of Leeds, Cardiff in terms of that. Really honest people, great place to live. So yeah, that kicked off. I was at Cardiff for 8 years. It was some amazing times at Cardiff from there on.
And then on to, was it Sheffield Wednesday after Cardiff?
Yeah, I had
A
yeah,
few
8 years
loans.
at the Cardiff, yeah, so it would have brought me up to 32 or 3 at that stage. So yeah, it was Sheffield Wednesday towards the back end of my career. I probably signed there for a year, but my family, my wife and kids moved from Cardiff back home to Dublin. In that time, I went to Sheffield, which was difficult because I was traveling back and forward, and it just didn't sit comfortably with me. So I was 34 actually at that stage, so it wasn't for me. I was training on a Tuesday, flying back to Dublin for a day off on Wednesday, and then going back and playing the game on Saturday. It was never going to work. Unfortunately, my kids wanted to. And my wife were always going to start school here at the time, so that was a big decision for me to say to Sheffield Wednesday after about 8 months that I can't do this anymore. I'd rather go back home and play for a team that I grew up supporting really back home in Dublin.
Mm. Talk about sacrifices there. What kind of sacrifices do you feel you've had to make to, first of all, to become a professional footballer?
I
And
think
then as a pro, what kind of sacrifices? Everybody sees the glamour and the glitz, but it's not the real life, is it, of a footballer?
no, it definitely isn't. I think the sacrifices is obviously being with your friends and being with your family. I've missed my brother's wedding, my sister's wedding, I've missed funerals, my granddad's funeral. I missed loads of stuff that just I needed to be staying in the team. I needed to be um, looking after myself, and I know that's selfish, but it's a huge part of being a footballer. Selfish, but I should bring my wife in and probably tell you how selfish I really was. Yeah, I think you give up a lot. I made sure I slept in the afternoon, so my kids probably didn't see too much of me in terms of I was so dedicated to what I needed to do for myself. So yeah, you give up a lot. You don't, as I said, you miss being probably a teenager or hanging around with your mates. You miss all that, but the sacrifice for me was definitely worth it. I had amazing experiences with football, ups and downs. The downs are there's more downs than ups, really, and that's the
Mhm.
truth of it. But to get the nights I had and get the memories to look back on and the games and represent your country and doing all them stuff. If you bit your hand off at 15 coming across to England, to say I was to have a decent career, 20 years playing professional football, I'd give it I'd do it again. That's the way it is.
Mm. Who would you say are your influences? Who's influenced you as an individual and your career?
My granddad was a huge influence on me starting playing football, and unfortunately he passed away when I was 12. So he was gutting really. He brought me everywhere, brought me to all my matches. Just one of them mentors who I love being around every day. I lived with him, so it was a
Brilliant.
proper relationship. But yeah, it was devastated when he went, and then after that, the likes of Paul Hart and Eddie Gray were just a huge influence on me. Still now, I speak to Paul and Eddie as much as I can, because they grounded me and made me who I am really as an individual. More the discipline and the respect they showed and coached me, and sure Jace will tell you the same. I think they had such an effect on the players they coached, just in terms of the standards they wanted you to hit every day and never let you away with anything. I remember Paul. Listen, I was shit scared of him, to be honest. It was just one of them men that just gave that presence about him.
Yeah.
But when I look back now, and now me coaching and being a part of a club, he was absolute genius at what he done and testing people, and it was all a test to see have you got it in you to do it every day and be the best you can, and that's all you can ask. And when you look
Yeah.
back, it's a bit of an eye opener.
Yeah, I know Jason speaks really highly of him too. Do you have any superstitions as a player?
Yeah, so probably all getting stupid. I don't think I've ever told anyone. So I just get dressed from my left. I put my boot on left, my sock on, and that sort of shin pad on the left first. It was just something I always did, but not overly. That was just probably it. Really, it didn't get any better than that.
Nothing too strange.
No, nothing too much.
So you moved back to Southern Ireland, and then obviously finishing off your career. When did you start in your coaching?
I coach when I came back from Sheffield Wednesday. I signed for the club I support as a kid. It's the Shamrock Rovers, the professional club in Dublin. So I ended up playing 18 months, the last 18 months of my career there. And them 18 months, I started coaching with would have been the under 17s at the time, my group. So I went in as second or third coach and just dipped my toe in and helped out as much as I could while I was still playing. So yeah, that was a really, really good couple of years. Actually, I loved it. I was playing for the first team and getting to have that at night time as well when the academy came in to train. It was great to get an idea how the other side works really, and try and learn and try and take the because it's you're coming out of your comfort zone again. It's like going back to 15, getting them nerves and
Yeah.
getting on the pitch and making mistakes and getting things wrong. So yeah, it all started in them couple of years really.
And so now you're sporting director. Is that the official
Yeah,
title?
yeah,
Can you
that's
tell
it.
us a little bit about that at Shamrock Rovers? What does that entail? What's a kind of a general day, if there is one?
Yeah, I suppose it was thrown at me really when I my last game for Shamrock Rovers. I told the chairman, "Geez, my body's shutting down here. That's me done." So I was in my head. It was never something that I ever even looked into. It was just about a week after I announced I was finished playing that he came to me and said, "Listen, we're going to restructure the football side of the club. Here's a role. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Geez, what is sporting director? What is it?" So I went and researched. I had about 3 or 4 weeks. I told him, could he live it with me? I went and spoke to other sporting directors that I knew, Roy Aiken being one, and a few others, that try and pick their brains and try and get my idea of how to put my stamp on it. So yeah, so I came back and said, yeah, I'm ready to go. That first week we announced a manager, which was incredible to be thrown straight in the deep end, really. And ever since then, I've been working close with the manager every day, recruitment, players' contracts. I'm lucky enough the manager wants me on the pitch with him as well, so I get to put my
Brilliant.
boots on and coach every day. Whatever he sees me doing, I work with the midfielders. I work bits of shape he wants me to do as well with the whole team. So yeah, I'm really lucky that way. I'm not in a
And get on the grass still.
I'm not a shoot and toy sort of sporting director. But yeah, everything's thrown at you day to day. It could be anything. Like today was a mad day in terms of you're speaking to agents in the morning and then you're speaking to staff members in the afternoon, contracts for other staff members, trying to all that sort of stuff comes on your plate, and then just trying to keep the manager in the flow. So I'm speaking to him probably 3 times a day, and just what's happening on my end, and trying to
I
plan
bet you
out.
speak to the manager more than you speak to your wife, don't you?
I do,
Ends
yeah,
up being like that.
I do. This COVID's helped. Gives me a bit of time in the house and around the family, but before that, I'll be with the manager more time than not. So yeah, it's just trying to keep on top of the little things and the bigger things. Obviously, just making them decisions with the manager and trying to be that support to him and let him coach and let him do what he's good at, and that's setting the team up. And I'll take a bit of stuff away from him that he doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah. Well, you just had another fantastic season, so congratulations with that. Big club, big expectations. Talk about kind of the recruitment side of things. I'm sure the guys on the call will be really interested to know what are you looking for in players, especially young players breaking through.
Yeah, to be fair, we would look obviously their ability, but overall we'd look at the character and try and definitely outweigh that. We do, I know we do. We try and pick the person and try and meet the player and try and get to know him and try and get to know his values. Obviously, they have to have ability, and we would put them, if it's a goalkeeper, they have to have certain characteristics, the way the manager wants to play, and so forth. But deep down, it's who they are. Do they train well? Have they got the attitude? Are you willing to do the dirty work to be in the squad and try and make things happen? And that's so important. I think for any young kid, I think that's, you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't have the attitude or the willingness to drive yourself and be the best you can be every day, there's no point in being a footballer for me. And that's what we look at. It's really simple stuff. Um, it's the way we look at things, and it's standing us in good stead. We had to clear out a whole squad when I came in the first 2 months. I let go 20 players, and we started over again. So we really had to recruit and really had to dig to find the right characters to come in and change the culture, and the way forward was building that trust within the group and the players, and getting the standards up, and going back to what Paul Hart and Eddie Gray was teaching me as a kid, all them little bits of respecting each other, respecting the coaches, respecting where you are in the training ground, looking after your training ground as it's your house, and all them little bits that I was taught, and doing your jobs properly. If you're on balls, you're doing balls properly. If you're on cleaning the toilets, you clean it properly, and don't cut corners. So that's what we did, and we'll just keep trying to do that every year, and trying to push up the standards as much as we can.
Brilliant. Thank you. Fantastic advice. We'll just open it up now, Macca, if that's okay. Get the
Yeah.
guys to pop some questions in the chat. So if anybody's got any questions for Stephen, just bob them in the chat, and we'll pick them up now. Just before any of those come in, Maka, what would you say are your happiest memories in football?
Happiest is playing as a kid, you know, playing. I love just playing for Leeds in the youth team. I loved every minute of it. I think the learning and the training every day was just so enjoyable. Just being tested, and Jace will tell you they were amazing coaches. Eddie and Paul, they worked off each other so well. We got the U Cup final. All their memories are just incredible because the group was so strong. The second years, first years were together. We had great banter, great team spirit, and I just loved it. It was so raw for me. I was learning the game and learning my body, so something I always look back on. Fond memories, amazing time.
Brilliant, thank you. When did you first come across Mr. Blunt?
That would have been Jace. Would have been there the day I landed, I'd say. Jace was great. Jace was unbelievable footballer. I remember probably that pre-season I landed, getting in with him and Fozzie, two midfielders, and thinking I'm way out my depth here. Just in terms of their drive, and they were so fit, so athletic, and Jace was brilliant on playing balls around the corner. It's probably their smile. I don't see him, but he's a super footballer. Really great to be. And I was competing. I was wanting to be them, and they were ahead of me. They had a different colour kit because I was first year and they were first year pros, and I just wanted to be them. And it was great. It didn't make it easy for me. I didn't expect anything else, but I was a really good fella.
Top guy, yes. Right, we've got a question from Justin. What's your philosophy, formation, tactics, that kind of thing? Are you quite set on how you want to play, or are you pretty fluid?
No, quite fluid, really. I think our principles will be we will play out from the back always. This last year we played three at the back just because personnel, but that wouldn't mean we wouldn't play a 4-3-3. I think we always would try and play out from the back, try and build through the tours. But listen, it's easy said and done, isn't it? We stick to that principle. We played AC Milan in the Europa League this year, and we had quite a deep staff meeting leading up to that because we watched them and they were obviously miles ahead of us in terms of quality, but we just believed that we needed to stick to our principles of playing out and doing what we done when we played in the league the week before. And it was brilliant. It was great for the lads to see. They trusted it. They got out 5 or 6 times in the first 20 minutes, gave us confidence. And I just feel that's the way the game should be played. I think we should all take the ball under pressure and make things happen. A bit of a possession-based team and try and dictate the flow of the game. I think that's just something that was in me when I was playing. I used to love doing that, so it just sort of rubbed off from there, really.
Brilliant, thank you. Question from Nelly, one of our coaches. Were you part of the FA Youth Cup winning team?
Yeah, I got to win the FA Youth Cup. Incredible team, actually. It was unbelievable. We beat Crystal Palace in the final. So yeah, it was amazing. I think it's something when I landed in Leeds, it was always talked about. I know the team, I think it was 93 or 4 would have done it. Kev Sharp and
when they beat Manchester United, I think, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So they hadn't done it from then. So I think it was 98. Yeah, it was 98 when we done it. It was brilliant, amazing feeling. I think I still have that feeling of walking out in Ellen Road. It was a 2-legged cup final. Loads of, I don't know what the crowd was, 10,000 maybe in Ellen Road for that game. And that was the first time I got to experience the crowd aspect of playing as a kid. So yeah, it was great times, great games leading up to that. Even I remember playing Tranmere, who had a great team as well, and beating them. Sheffield Wednesday leading up to it as well, had some really good players. So yeah, it was a great feeling. It was one medal I always look back on.
And then you probably made your debut, did you, in the Premier League the following year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that year. Yeah, so within 12 months, quite a lot of us would have played in the U Cup final. Would have made a Premier League debut. So yeah, it was yeah, a lot of us came through. I think that gave us the sort of coverage probably that
Hmm.
opened the eyes to the manager George Graham. Probably not renowned for giving too many young kids a chance up to that. So I think it was probably forced into it from winning the FAU Cup. So that was something that obviously stood to us all going forward.
Brilliant, thank you. Question from Saeed. What was your mindset every time you stepped onto the field?
Yeah, I tried to not overcomplicate. I used to try and get on the ball as much as I could from the off, make a tackle, get myself in the game. Yeah, just that was it. I didn't look too far down the road of how it was going to play out. I just tried to take the first action and try and make sure I'd done the right thing. I didn't want to be foggy minded going into games. It was always make a tackle, get in the game, and whatever that may be. Let's try and dictate the game as much as possible.
Thank you. Brilliant. Question from Eric. When you were playing, how did you know it was the right decision to move on to another club?
Um,
And maybe which club? If you've got several clubs that are interested in you, how would you go about that, making that decision?
it's a difficult one. I suppose you need to weigh up a lot of things and how you feel. I suppose that you got to go with your gut feeling. And that's what I had with Cardiff. I can only give you my example. I just felt that I would fit that club at that time. It was progressing, and it wasn't a club that was there in the top echelons. It was trying to build and try and get back. It was come from League One, and it was in the Championship, and it was steady in the Championship, and they had great ambitions to get to the Premier League. And lucky enough, we did over time. But I just felt like I wanted to be a part of that and push it and try and help the club. I think it's important that you go with your gut and you go with how you feel you can fit into the team and fit into the style of play and the overall feel of the place.
Fantastic. Thank you. Question from Christian. Hi, Stephen. What's the most important attribute to become a pro footballer?
Yeah, I probably answered that earlier on in terms of all the talent, but the attitude is so important. I think that's key. The drive and willingness never to give up, and when things go against you, to try and look at yourself and try and get better every day. That's all I could feel that the attribute needs to be, and working your game. Don't stop working. At 35, 36, I still wanted to try and get better. I knew I had things I needed to get better at, and I think that's in any walk of life that's so important. Not to think you've made it, you've done it, because you never had. There's always someone behind you. Paul would always say that to us growing up. There's always someone right on your tail, looking at you, thinking you're bullseye here, so you need to be ready for it. So I think that's important.
Yeah, really good advice. Thank you. Question from Victor. How did you stay calm under pressure? E.g., you're going for your debut, making your debut, and subsequent games.
Yeah, that's a tough one because probably um, inside you're not calm. I think anyone Brian would have played in some big games. I'm sure you tell yourself. I don't believe people aren't nervous. I think you always have that in your stomach of anxious or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think you just try and play the game. You play the game since you're 8, 9, 10 years of age. So the simple things still don't change. The ball will still roll at you the same way, and you need to control it and try and concentrate on all them little bits, and that just keeps you believing and keeping you calm in terms of making the right decisions. I think it's important that you believe in yourself, and just you've done it since you're a baby, so nothing should change for you mentally.
Excellent. Question from Jeremiah. If you could change one thing about your career for the better, what would it be?
I changed loads. If to be honest with you, it's just listen, it is what it is. I think any footballer has gone through that amount of career. You look back and you could pinpoint loads of stuff. Probably when I was young and a bit immature, of as I said, I probably pointed out looking to blame the world and not myself for a little part of my career. and trying to realise that as quick as possible. I think the best players don't do that and realise that you're the problem, or you're the one that can make things happen, and you're the one that can influence stuff. So yeah, probably a bit of that if I'd have known that, and grown up a little more. But you're still young. You don't realise at 18, 19 what's going on, to be honest. So it's but that'd be the one, probably a bit of regret.
Brilliant. Question from Justin, a bit of a tactical question here. Do you prefer inverted wingers or wingers that stay wide and cross the ball into the box?
Yeah, I think it's difficult now, isn't it? There's not many ones that stay wide, and yet we used to play with 4-4-2 every game. Every game nearly I played up till I was 33 was 4-4-2. So our wingers would have been tucked in when we're defending and out wide when we had the ball. So now the game has changed. We play with the first team, as I said, with wing backs, three at the back with wing backs. We don't play with wingers. We play a box midfield and the front man. So we don't play with wingers, which is mad. But I love playing with likes of Jason Wilcox. He was an unbelievable winger. Just used to play.
Old school winger,
yeah. I played inside him. He's old school. You just any time he came in, you just wrap it out to him, and he wouldn't even have to go by the fullback. He just shift it and deliver. But that seems to have gone out of the game. I can't think of any Premier League team that sort of plays that way now. I know Man City sometimes mix it up where they go really high and wide and keep the opposition honest that way, but they are more, as you say, introvert coming inside and getting shots on target. So I love the way the game's evolved. I love the speed of the game. I think coming in off the line and making things difficult for fullbacks is definitely the way forward in this day and age. But that could flip, that could flip back to having all wingers in the next couple of years. It could be back to 4-4-2 again.
Thank you. Question from Rafa, our famous TikToker is Rafa. What separates the average player compared to an elite player, in your opinion?
Obviously, for me, it's decision making, how quick you can make the decisions. I found that the levels I went up when I was playing, the better player was just so quick. They'd never let you lay a glove on them. They'd be the players who could play around corners and gone by it without you being able to affect that. I just felt the decision making and the sharpness in decision making was what makes them the best players. Just never usually make the wrong decision on the ball or off the ball, or closing down, setting off a press, all that sort of stuff. They just seem to have the right decision 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I know. The coaches often talk about having a picture in your mind of what you're going to do, and they see 2 or 3 pictures in advance, don't they? The top players.
Exactly.
Question from Chris here. With us being players that have never played in European academy level or professional level, what would be your advice on the route to take on getting there?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I suppose Leon would be example. Leon Pauls would have came through with you at eye to eye. He's done really well for us, and that was all through a game of football and a friendly, So I think the most important thing as a kid is never think no one's watching, because if it's a training, if it's a game, whatever game that may be, it might be a friendly somewhere that you think no one's watching. There is, and listen, Leon would have been involved against AC Milan this year on the bench, so you would have said that a couple of years ago. You might never have thought of that. So yeah, I think it's just always try and play like someone's watching, because it just takes that split second for someone to realise, listen, this is your path, or come with us, or whatever that may be. It's hard to guide someone and say you have to do this, you have to do that. It doesn't work like that. I think like Jamie Vardy would have played non-league well into his 20s, so now he's probably the best centre forward in the country. So there's no advice for that, only that you've got to take every set game and every session seriously, because people are watching, aren't they?
Excellent advice, thank you. Question from Zach via Elliot. What's the biggest difference from the kind of the top leagues to the lower leagues, Premier League to League Two? You've probably experienced Premier League, Champions League to League One. What would you say the biggest differences are?
Yeah, I think found, I don't know how and why, it's hard to, but in international and Premier League, you seem to have more time uh, on the ball at stages in games. They'd let you have it if you were in control, but then as it moved up the pitch, it got sharper, and you needed to have that extra bit of quality because everyone could run, everyone was fast, everyone was strong and fit. So I think the lower the leagues you go down, it becomes more of a scrap, and the quality obviously is not as good. It is good obviously, but it's not at that level. And I think that just goes with the caliber of player, and the decision making again needs to be quicker the higher you go up. You don't get that time in the Premier League. The closer you get to the opposition goal, I think it was one that I found a bit of an eye opener. From going from Championship to the Premiership, it's just that little bit of quality, a little bit of extra speed of thought, really.
Brilliant. Got a few questions here from, let's have a look here. Denzel, Dario, and Saeed, really asking about what do you look for in a striker, what do you look for in a centre mid, what do you look for in a fullback, that kind of a question. Is it specific when you're recruiting, or are you looking at, do you have certain things that the guys have got to tick the boxes, or is it stats? I know a lot of clubs look at a lot of stats nowadays. How do you go about looking at individual positions?
Yeah, we profile the player and how we want to play, really. So our wing backs, we expect to be able to move and expect them to be comfortable on the ball and be a defender and a attacker. So yeah, I would sit down with the manager before every season and try and profile our positions. Has it changed in his mind, which it hasn't over the last 3 years. He's really strong on his principle of play, and yeah, we recruit from there. We do nowadays. You probably know, and all the computer stuff is, it's easy to pop up stats and easy to watch a player live, and all that stuff for Y-Scout. We're on the platform, so yeah, we profile the player to our style of play. Really, that's where we're at.
Brilliant. Question from Matty, my business partner and older brother, another big Leeds fan. Was your pastor Jimmy Floyd at the Pride Park the best of your career?
Probably was, yeah. Listen, it was. Yeah, I can't remember playing it, to be honest. It just someone sent it to me not long ago, just before Christmas. It went up, I don't know, on a Leeds site or whatever. Yeah, to be fair, that pass was something that would have been spoke about with Jimmy and centre forwards. We would have worked on stuff like that where you catch your eyes with the midfielder and he'd come and spin and get in and yeah, lucky enough he scored, so that probably helped. If he had to kick the wide now, I would have remembered the pass. But yeah, no, it was definitely one that when I look back, thinking, yeah, that worked nicely for me.
Did that, as a midfielder, did that give you as much kind of joy as, I know midfielders don't score as many goals, but an assist like that, does that give you as much kind of pleasure?
Yeah, I did. I loved that part of the game. I think more than, as you said, scoring goals. It was more trying to create something, or try and make a pass that counted. Yeah, that gave me great pleasure, especially when you have centre forwards like that. You've got a chance, don't you, where you can try and make create something. I always felt that was a part of my game I had to be good at. That's why I was in the team, really.
Magic. John O'Greening's just apologising. He's got to go for a Zoom's parent evening tonight, but he's saying thanks very much for your time. You were a top player. Used to boss me every time I played against you, from youth team games to pro games. Good luck with Shamrock. Thanks again from John O'Greening.
Oh man, I don't know if that's true now. I must admit.
Right. Final question from Tommy Brown. Best keeper you played with, and what made him special?
Best keeper.
Keeper, yeah, he's a goalkeeper. Is Tommy in our academy?
It's a difficult one. I played with David Marshall, who at Cardiff, brilliant goalkeeper, and I think now he's still doing it at his age. Speaks for himself. He was amazing. Just he had everything about him. Marshy could shot stop. He could play out from the back. He was just calm, collected. never flustered. He's just one of them characters. Really good fella as well. Great in the dressing room, just quiet and get on with his job, and just gave you that reassurance to the team that he was never very rarely made mistakes. Just comfortable in everything he done. Really.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much, Macca. Really appreciate your time. And when all this craziness is over, we'll have to bring a team over again and come out and visit you at Shamrock.
Definitely, Jimmy. Whenever ready, we'd love to see us.
Top man. Thank you, Macca. Best of luck for this next season coming up with Shamrock. Brilliant. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, lads. Thank you.
Cheers, Macca. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Macca. All the best.
See you, lads. Thanks, Chase.
Thank you. Cheers, Macca. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you, mate. Bye-bye.